Aloha everyone and welcome to another Tinkers Academy video. I'm your host Kay Elmer and this video is another installment in the FAQ video series Welcome to LeelaQ, otherwise known as Leela Quantum Tech and Quantum Upgrade. This is where we pluck random questions or frequently asked questions out of the Telegram chat groups, and then either I'll answer the question or I'll ask Philip von Holzendorf, the owner-operator of Leela Quantum Tech, to get his take on what the question is. So this video is, the question is, what is the advice on connecting blocks together? If you have more than one and you want to connect them or use them, use more than one simultaneously, what is his advice and directions on how to use more than one block at a time and connecting them? So let's listen to what his take is on that question. Here we go. Now, the fourth one that kind of just came up with is a couple of different people are tinkering around with, they have more than one block. And so what they're wondering, and I was trying to figure out what the answer was, what's your advice on connecting blocks? And so, and then using more than one simultaneously. So let me just start with the second question first, okay? So what they meant by using more than one simultaneously was separating the plates. So think of it like a big cross, right? And what they wanted to do was they have two travel blocks and they wanted to put one horizontal and one vertical and sit exactly in the middle between all four plates. And they were wondering what would that, they were wondering, would that increase the amount of energy they're experiencing? Um, would it interfere, would the two separate, the four plates, would they interfere with each other? That kind of thing. And then, so that was one person wanted to do that. Another person was going to do something similar with their infinity blocks, where they were going to kind of, I think, not disassemble them, right, but set them where there was going to be three of them and they would sit in the middle of the three, like concentric circles, kind of like this symbol right here, for the International Association. You see how
Uh-huh.
you've got three separate energy, or waves, right? And then right here in the middle is where they all kind of, bounce off each other and connect. So someone was thinking, hey, if I took three blocks and I did that, would that increase the energy or would that interfere with the fields? So that's what they're wondering. And it's a really great question. I'm like, wow, if you got more
Yeah.
than one block, you can really play around. So, okay, so what do you think?
I would not do it. I would
Ah,
not advise anyone does that. It's for a reason we tell
okay.
people to keep the blocks apart, 6 feet at minimum. And that's the same thing here because you would have two blocks interfering, and I just wouldn't do it. I mean, that doesn't mean that you couldn't try and figure stuff out, right? But to me, I rather see a destabilizing field, or at least a field that's not as clear, not as supportive as if it's just one block you're using. So rather, put the plates of one apart and lay in that, like you did it, for example, in
Mhm.
your sleep experiment. And I would not use two at the same time. Now, having those in the room and having them, then they're anyway connected and all that, that's all no problem. That's all fantastic. But I don't think physically you would want to just put them together that
Okay.
way.
Okay. All right. So let me give you my personal example. Is I have a 6 foot couch and tables on both sides, right? And I have my boosted infinity block on each end table. So I sit between two infinity blocks. They're assembled, right? And I'm using each one of them for quantum entanglement right now. So one person's in one and a dog's in another. But I'm sitting between two infinity
Hmm.
blocks on my couch. No problem, right? Because they're 6 feet apart.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
All right.
perfect. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
great. It just basically, yeah, it certainly amplifies the field that you're sitting in. So it's a relatively strong field, but it's perfect.
Okay. All right. And then the other piece of this question was the connecting the blocks. So now we had already talked to, for anyone that wants to know, Philip and I had already discussed connecting the blocks based on the issue that, or the situation that happened with the recent hurricane in Florida. So you've already described that. If anybody wants to know about that, I think it's in one of the FAQ videos. But this other concept of connecting the blocks was, in a recent interview, one of the last two interviews you had, Philip, I wanted to clarify something where you said that the blocks will sync up with each other and that they actually increase in strength by themselves. So I was just real curious if you could expand on blocks naturally syncing up with each other. And do they really do that? And what does that mean? And then you were saying that over time, these blocks actually increase in strength by themselves, is what you guys are noticing. So if you don't mind, I
Yep.
mean, I thought it was it's kind of funny where the person interviewing you didn't realize what you had just said and how incredible it was. I don't think it totally went over them. They didn't even ask a follow-up question. And I'm listening to the interview. I'm like, oh, wait, 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 wait. What did he just say? So, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I wanted to ask, like, hey, what does that mean? Because that is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so the second part first, indeed, the blocks increase their power, their consciousness level over time by them being used. And we don't write that on the website. We don't talk much about it because it's such a, I think it's a very difficult concept to understand for most people how that would work, right? Naturally, you would think something just decreases in power and until it doesn't work anymore, right? That's how we're used to dealing with technology. But in this case, it's indeed different. So think of it as an intelligence, right? An intelligent field. And if you give more tasks to this field, it's not that the field becomes weaker, it actually becomes more knowledgeable, right? Let's just use that word for
Hmm.
lack of a better term. And so indeed it slightly increases in power over time. That's always been the case, actually.
Hmm.
And it is also with all blocks the case.
Okay.
Now, in terms of
Wow.
synchronizing, so if you have different blocks in your home, they indeed connect with each other. It's that one knows the other, and there's like they're like brothers and sisters, right? If you think about it, it's not that they're completely independent. They are independent, but they're also connecting, and they're also how you say so the creating this joint field in a home, right? And as soon let's say someone has already a couple blocks, but now they get the super block in the beginning of January, and then they put the super block at home. This super block will instantly become the boss, and this leader, more or less, in the home, in regards to the blocks, and all the other blocks will be connected to it, but it runs the show, if that makes sense, and
Hmm.
it's still connected. There's a synchronizing energy, and it even happens with neighbors. So if you have neighbors that live, I don't know, 500 yards away, and they have a block, it creates this grid over the whole neighborhood, which is quite amazing and phenomenal. But you can strengthen that for specific actions. Let's say what we had here with the hurricane, right? Then you would want to strengthen that field possibly, and maybe put in a joint intention also. And you can definitely do that.
Okay, so like if I had neighbors that had blocks and we wanted to create a grid over our city for inclement weather protection, then we would all put in intention that says connect my block to so and so's block, kind of thing, right? And then those are the intentions. So all the blocks connect and protect us from the storm, right? That would be the intention. Connect my block to
Y-
other blocks and protect us from the storm. Would that be how I would word that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would write down connect my block to this block or that block, rather stating it as a fact that, all blocks, all, I don't know, Leela blocks in I don't know, whichever city,
Uh-huh.
in New York City, as an example, are connected. And that almost, I mean, you can write it in, yeah, why not? Just put it in as a sentence
A
basically,
statement of
and then
fact. Yeah. Okay.
yes, and then put in what you are working on, basically.
Okay.
All blocks work together to harmonize the the or neutralize the negative effects of the chemtrails in the air, as an example, right? Or
Okay.
whatever you want, right? I mean, obviously that all works. And then that intention, if it's also put into other blocks, it becomes even more powerful.
Hmm. Okay. So, okay. And then I guess a follow-on question just for my own sake, because I've got, yeah, I mean, I'm probably so I got 5 blocks. Your house is probably full of blocks, so I'm sure that we probably can be seen from space, given how much quantum energy is coming out of our houses. But I mean, but I got so many different blocks, and so I've got different blocks doing different things at different times. So that you said that they all work independently. So I'm just kind of wondering what your take is. Is like, I've got 2 IBs. One's got a friend of mine in it. Another one's got a dog in it. In the kitchen, I'm imprinting my jug of water right now, and then I'm sleeping in my super block in my bedroom. So I've got at least 4 of them with something going on. Quantum blocks just sitting there waiting for me to be used, and travel blocks in the truck. So, but I've got 4 blocks. Each one of them's got something in it. Is that going to interfere with what I'm trying to do individually with each one? Like
No,
I'm sending out heal for dogs to the dog. I'm sending out, heal.
works perfectly.
Oh, okay, so
While they're somewhat connected energetically, they still just work on their tasks and whatever you're doing
mhm.
in a very independent way. So,
Okay. And then so my neighbors, so my neighbors are experiencing, but they're within the field, so wouldn't they be experiencing the healing frequency for that guy, my friend, and they're experiencing the heal for dogs. And then when I'm in my super block, I am the source of frequency, and I'm assuming that I am being broadcast into the field, and I'm just wondering.
thankfully not. No, I mean
No?
you
Oh,
could
okay,
you
because
could
I was like,
direct it
how
that
does that
way
work? Okay.
if so on a consciousness level you
Uh-huh.
could direct it that way, but that's not what you're doing, and that's not really what's happening there. So, and
Ah,
also
okay.
with your dog. So if you put, I don't know, a heal for dog frequency in there with a dog, for example, it's not broadcast out. It could be by basically tasking the block to do that, but if you're not doing that, then it just doesn't happen.
Okay.
So it
Okay. You have
contains
to,
that, and it just keeps
okay.
in its normal radius. It just has the general functions, and no one is impacted by the heal for dog frequency, and not your neighbor either.
Okay. All right. I was always wondering about that. Okay. Yeah, because these things reach out so far. I mean, just right off the bat, though, I was wondering the super grand block, because it's so much stronger. How big does that thing stretch out? I mean, do you know what the field size is?
I mean, we figured that at least in the 500-meter radius, it can neutralize, the negative effects of even strong electromagnetic fields.
Hmm.
And the detectable radius just energetically is probably at least 1.5 kilometers. Um, yeah, it's not much more than that, probably.
Okay. No, that's cool. Yeah, I'm just assuming that's got a giant field, but okay. Thank you very much for that. Really, really fascinating stuff. Love talking to you.